Hello, everyone, and welcome in to a Thanksgiving Day edition of the X's and Dogs podcast. I want to start by just wishing you all a happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully, today everyone is able to spend some time with loved ones, family, friends, whoever they wish on today's holiday. And, take some time to enjoy some good football, hopefully some good food. The slate for today's games look really good, and hopefully everyone is able to, enjoy some football with their loved ones and reset before we finish the year strong here in 2025. That said, we have some Browns topics to get into today, and I'm going to keep it short because I know we all are enjoying our Thanksgiving, and I want to get to enjoying mine as well. That said, I want to start by just previewing the 49ers game like we normally do on our Thursdays. So the 49ers are coming off that win at home on Monday night, so it is a short week for them. Coming off a win against the Panthers in a game where, to me, they really did not look too impressive. And for a team that won the game by double-digit points, this is probably one of the more winnable games that the Browns will have, facing a team that's coming off a game like that. Obviously, the 49ers are going to be a challenge. It's never an easy game when you're playing San Francisco. But we know last time that San Francisco came to Cleveland, they did struggle. We won that game with PJ Walker starting. And historically, Jim Schwartz has had success versus any Kyle Shanahan, brain fart moment, offense, really. So he's had success against Kyle Shanahan, and I think he'll be able to continue to do that this weekend. So there's a couple points I want to make. First off, the weather looks really crappy in Cleveland for this game. It's going to be windy, rainy, cold. To me, that plays in favor of the Browns, especially when you have a quarterback like Brock Purdy, who has had some questions about the ability to play in cold weather in the past. So that plays to the Browns' favor. I also think another point is this is a 49ers team whose defense does not get a lot of pressure. I want to say they only have 13 sacks on the season, where the Browns, I believe, have 42. So those are complete ends of the spectrum when it comes to kind of the sack rankings for a team. But for a team who doesn't get a lot of pressure to the quarterback, I believe it's going to benefit the Browns offense, significantly, especially rolling out Shedeur Sanders for his third appearance. And we know Shedeur has struggled with pressure looks and exotic blitzes and things like this in the past. So I think another game under his belt where he's playing a team that, does not create a ton of pressure on their own, will be beneficial. And I think that kind of plays to Shedeur's favor and the Browns offense favor as a whole. So ultimately, my keys to success in this game for the Browns are, make Brock Purdy's life hell, create pressure all day, which we know this defensive line is going to do, especially in a weather game. Run the football effectively on a very banged up 49ers defense that's still pretty good. They're just not dominant on the line of scrimmage right now defensively. So I think we can definitely run the ball on them. And also just be able to, throw the ball down the field. Don't be scared to drop Shedeur back and throw the ball down the field. Let him prove that he should be a starting quarterback, because I touched on it in my last pod, but we need to see these training wheels get moved off of Shedeur, and we need to see it pretty quickly with a limited number of games remaining on the schedule. And I think it's a good week to start doing that against this banged up 49ers defense. That said, I think I think this is a winnable game for the Browns. In my opinion, this is a game where the first team to score 20 points is probably going to win this one. I think if the Browns can put 20 on the board, I do believe the defense will be able to hold the 49ers to at least 20 points or under. Purdy has not looked good since he's come back from the injury. And this is the last team I'd like to be playing if I'm Brock Purdy, especially going into Cleveland, whenever there should be a pretty big crowd for this one, with Shedeur making his first home start. I don't think it's going to be like a regular late November, early December game in Cleveland whenever the team sucks, because we have kind of that excitement at the quarterback position. Regardless of how you feel about Shedeur, is he going to be good? Is he not going to be good? I think there's a lot of excitement, and there will be a lot of fans at the stadium for this one. So, all that said, I actually think it's going to be a tight game. I believe the line was set to 6.5. The 49ers were favored by 6.5 in this one, which to me is way too much. I'm sure as we get closer, it'll go down, and maybe it's already went down from there. I think a better line is like 3.5 for this one, 3.5 or 4.5. I really don't see the 49ers, running away with this game the way our defense is playing right now. And, especially whenever you have Myles Garrett looking to break the sack record, he's going to be playing at a higher level than he has this late in the season before. So it'll be a tight game. My prediction for this one is actually that the Browns do win this one. I have a final score, Cleveland Browns 21 to the San Francisco Giants 17. That's my score prediction for this one. I think the Browns win it. Hopefully I don't have my brown and orange shade glasses on too much here, but I think this is kind of a letdown spot for the Niners coming off a short week, going into Cleveland, playing at that early 1 p.m. time slot again in a bad weather game against this defense right now. Yeah, I think 49ers fans would tell you that this kind of feels like a letdown spot for them. So that kind of wraps up my thought process for this game. It'll be interesting to see how Shedeur plays in his second start. Can he start to build on what we saw from the Raiders game? We'll find out. So I want to transition into kind of more, large scale, overarching Browns season talk here to end today's podcast. If you look at the Browns schedule and for the rest of the season, there are still some very winnable games on the schedule. Of course, we play the Titans at home. That could easily be a win. I think we kind of have a little bit of an overrated Chicago Bears team. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll prove to everyone that they are actually legit. And I think that was a big win against the Steelers. But to be fair, Mason Rudolph was starting, and that Steelers team is kind of reeling a little bit. So to me, that's a winnable one. Then you have the Bengals to end the season. And that one feels like a winnable game because there's a chance neither team has much to play for. And if I'm the Bengals, I'm not rolling Joe Burrow out there in a meaningless game, period. The worst possible thing that could happen is some sort of injury that lingers into next season, God forbid. So, we could be playing the Bengals without, against Joe Flacco in the last game very easily. So there's definitely some winnable ones on the schedule. There's also, though, some challenges on the schedule. We have the 49ers this week. We have the Bills coming up soon. And we also have the Steelers. So the one common denominator about those games is, though, they're all at home. So we're facing these good opponents who, the Steelers, say what you want about them. They're a tough team. They always play us well, regardless of the situation. The Bills have Josh Allen, so that's self-explanatory. And the 49ers are, 7-3 right now? 8-3? So, yeah, those are challenging games. But right now, I'm not going to go... The way our defense is playing, I'm not going into any of those games thinking we have no chance to win. And that's partly because we saw our offense show some signs of hope this past weekend, and partly because our defense is that good. I just think we have a chance to, down the back half in the final stretch of this season, create some real excitement, for a Cleveland Browns team, which is something we haven't been able to say for a few years at the very least here in Cleveland. So, to go a little deeper on that, I think the biggest reason has to be Shedeur, right? Without Shedeur playing quarterback, I'm not sure I would be as excited for the end of this season, especially whenever we have no chance to make the playoffs. But whenever you have Shedeur, who you never know, like the guy, everyone said the guy should be a second round pick. He does drop in the draft, but he doesn't feel like a true 5th round pick. He plays a game for us. He looks pretty good. We win by 14. Yeah, it's going to create some excitement down the back half here. And especially whenever you have some winnable games. I think if the Browns are able to go, 4-2 in this stretch, which is not crazy to say, if you really squint at it, I think you can pick 4 wins in this schedule. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, if the Browns go back to playing like crap against the Niners this weekend, there's a chance we end the season with 3 wins too. So I think there's a legitimate range of possibilities to end this Browns season that is anywhere from 0 wins to like 4 or 5 wins. All being pretty likely, or not like pretty reasonable, I should say, outcomes. And all kind of revolves around Shedeur. But the bigger point I want to make is that if this team can go on a little bit of a run to end the year here, it has nothing to do with the potential to make the playoffs or the potential to, go on some sort of Super Bowl run or, anything like that. I think it just has the potential to create some real excitement and build some momentum going into next season. Now, I am not the type of fan who believes that late season success really transfers over to the next season in the NFL. Some sports it does. Like I think in the NBA, we see some teams get hot, some young teams get hot at the end of the season, and that transfers over into the following season. I don't see that as often in the NFL though. But the one time I do think there is some validity to kind of building that little bit of a hot streak, a little bit of momentum going into, the next season is whenever you have young guys on a team who haven't experienced winning in the NFL, but they also haven't experienced a lot of losing. And we know just by watching this football team, rookies are, I would say, in the top, if you named the top 10 players on the Cleveland Browns, you could easily make the argument that 4 of them are rookies. I would say 4 are definitely in the top 15 players. But whenever you have a team like that, who a rookie class has become so successful for the team, I do believe that there is a little bit of potential to kind of ride a momentum through an offseason and just establish that culture of winning early on in those players' careers. So I think it's in the best interest, and I've said this before, and I will continue to say it, it's in the best interest for everybody involved to win football games, throughout the season, regardless of if you're tanking. I personally don't believe in tanking. I think that, it creates a losing culture that is very challenging to correct. And it's simply not worth it. It's not worth having a high draft pick and throwing him into a losing culture, because that's how you get to the position where the Browns were in for decades, where nobody is able to break those, habits, those losing habits in the locker room. So, all that said, to get back to the point that this Browns team needs to win games, they need to try to go 3-3, 4-2 down the stretch here, and I get it. That'll probably bring our win record up to 6 or 7 wins, and we'll probably end up with maybe like a 12 or 13 overall pick, and then wherever the Jaguars finish, probably somewhere in the early 20s. So yeah, it's going to impact the draft. It will. Now, that's going to create a conversation for the future, which it's going to, there's a whole conversation to be had with who's going to come out of who's even going to come out of college this year and declare for the draft when it pertains to the quarterback position. If it's only Fernando Mendoza, then what's the point of even really tanking? Because more than likely, we're not going to be able to get our hands on him. If it's only two guys, well, maybe we can trade up, but at that point, we're probably giving up both our first round picks and maybe even next year's first round pick, depending on where we finish. So I don't see the point at this current time to prioritize losing games. It's not like we have a Joe Burrow talent, an Andrew Luck talent coming out. These are decent prospects, decent to good prospects coming out of college that have a good chance to be successful in the NFL, but are not worth losing all the games to end the season to, try and get. Now, with that, I do understand that we have to have a solution at the quarterback position, and I'm not going to be some, pie in the sky type Browns fan where Shedeur is magically now our franchise quarterback because he played once against the Raiders. But it's their job to find a guy. If it's not Shedeur, go out there, find a retread guy. Find somebody, maybe in take a flyer on another third round pick or something. And to me, this is not ideal. This isn't where I would want to be. But with the potential for wins to come on our record, or to end the season here and add to our record, it's not likely we're going to have a high enough draft pick to go out and get these guys. And I would prefer to not have to trade both these picks and a first rounder next year on a team that desperately needs offensive talent. So we're going to have to find a solution. Probably not in the first round. That's where I'm at. I think it's likely that we'll have to find a solution not in the first round of this draft, just the way things are shaking out currently. Who knows, though? It's way too early to say. But the bigger point here is we need to focus on winning games to end the season. We need to focus on giving Shedeur the best chance to be the best quarterback that he can be to end the season, because who knows, maybe we do have something there with him. I'm not ready to write him off yet. I'm not ready to say he's our franchise quarterback yet. We have to figure all that out. So that's really what it's a complex situation in a nutshell. It's a constantly revolving situation where all we can do is focus on winning a football game this weekend and just deal with what we have to deal with at the end of the year whenever the draft order is set. That's the way I'm viewing it. I'm not getting my hopes up that we're going to get one of these college quarterbacks coming out, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Maybe we go back to sucking and we lose all the games anyway. Then we probably will get a quarterback. I do believe that this Browns team is about to turn a little bit of a corner here and start to build some momentum. I think that Shedeur can give at least a little bit of a higher level than Dylan gave at the quarterback position, and the defense can build on that. We have what? 4 of the 6 games are home games to end the year. And we know how that defense plays at home. So to say that we win 3 or 4 games is pretty reasonable in my eyes. So all that said, It's going to be an interesting end to the season. I'm just excited to finally have a little bit of hope as a Browns fan to maybe see how things could get better, sooner rather than later for once in a while. Because, to start this season, it was really hard to get to that point the way this team was performing. And, there's still a long way to go, but I think hope goes a long way for a fan base. And it's good to just be excited to watch the last 6 games of the season for once. It's not common as Browns fans we get to actually care about the last 6 games of an NFL season for any reason. But I think we will get to do that this year. That said, that's kind of all I have for today's podcast. Some really interesting scenarios going on with this football team right now. And so I want to know what you guys think in the comments down below. Let me know, do you think this team will continue to win games? Will they be able to build some momentum? Or will they revert back to their losing ways, and in which case we'll probably have a high draft pick? Also, let me know, which way do you guys prefer? Do you think we should lose games, or do you think, you value winning more than the high draft pick? I think those are they both have their positives and negatives, and I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hope you guys are having a great Thanksgiving. Hope you have a great Black Friday. Find some good deals out there. Be safe. And enjoy the holiday weekend. I will talk to you guys in the post-game show after the San Francisco 49ers game. I am traveling next week for work, so we'll probably only have one podcast after the post-game show coming out later on in the week. But all that said, thank you all for watching so much, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.